Lieutenant Commander Olivia Nash rubbed her sweaty palms against her crisp blue uniform pants. The diplomatic chamber aboard the UES Discovery had never felt so small. As Earth's appointed ambassador for this historic first contact, she couldn't afford to make mistakes. The fate of humanity's place among the stars rested partly on her shoulders. "Nervous?" Captain Daniel Blackwood asked, his voice low and steady. Olivia nodded. "Wouldn't you be? We've been sending signals into space for over 200 years, and now they've finally answered." Science Officer William Chen looked up from his datapad. According to the transmission, the Galactic Federation includes over 300 sentient species across 12,000 star systems. This is bigger than anyone imagined. "And yet they've never visited Earth before, Captain," Blackwood said. "Makes you wonder why they're coming now." Before Olivia could respond, the air in the center of the chamber began to shimmer and bend. A circle of blue light appeared, growing into a swirling portal. The humans stood at attention, hearts racing. 3 figures stepped through the portal. Each looked completely alien to human eyes. The first was tall and crystalline, catching the light and splitting it into rainbows across the room. It seemed to hover slightly above the floor. The second appeared as a swirling mass of purple gas contained within what looked like a transparent environment suit. The third resembled a giant insect with 4 arms and compound eyes that reflected the room like mirrors. Olivia stepped forward, hand raised in the universal greeting they had been instructed to use. "On behalf of Earth and all humanity, we welcome you to our ship and to our solar system." The crystalline being produced a series of musical tones. A small device on its surface glowed, and an artificial voice translated, "I am Ambassador Zarel of the Navori. We bring greetings from the Galactic Federation Council." The gaseous being floated forward. "I am Diplomat Hume of the Threll. Came." Another translated voice, this one with a strange echo. The insectoid creature clicked its mandibles. "Science Observer Tikak of the Zakthar Hive." It introduced itself. Captain Blackwood smiled. "It is an honor to meet representatives from such an esteemed organization. We have prepared information about Earth and human civilization for your review." The alien studied the humans with obvious curiosity. Ambassador Zrel's crystalline form changed colors slightly as it spoke. "Your species has developed quickly. Only 800 of your Earth years ago you were still using primitive combustion technology. Now you have achieved faster-than-light travel." "We're quick learners," William said, pride evident in his voice. Diplomat Hume's gaseous form swirled, faster. "That is precisely why the Federation Council sent us to evaluate your application for membership." Olivia felt a surge of excitement. This was happening even faster than they had hoped. "We're thrilled at the possibility of joining the Hyde Galactic community. Before discussions proceed," Ambassador Zrel continued, "we must learn more about human physiology, psychology, and social structures. Our preliminary scans of your communications networks have raised certain questions." "We're an open book," Captain Blackwood said. "Ask us anything." Science Observer Tikatke stepped forward, compound eyes reflecting the humans' faces. "Our primary concern relates to your species' biological responses to various stimuli. For example, your pain responses seem typical of carbon-based life forms." "That's good to hear," William said, not entirely sure how to respond. "However," continued Tikatke, "we have observed behaviors in your broadcasts that require explanation." Olivia nodded encouragingly. "We understand that cultural differences can sometimes lead to misunderstandings. Please, what concerns you?" Ambassador Zrel's crystalline form shifted to a deeper blue. "In many of your recorded communications, humans display a behavior where they bare their teeth, emit rhythmic vocalizations, and appear to experience muscle spasms. This often occurs in group settings and seems contagious." Captain Blackwood looked confused for a moment, then his face brightened with understanding. "Oh, you mean laughter. That's just how humans express amusement or joy." "Laughter," Diplomat Hume repeated, the gaseous form condensing slightly. "This is a standard biological function?" "Absolutely," Olivia explained. "It's a social bonding mechanism. When something unexpected or humorous happens, we laugh. It releases tension and creates positive feelings. The three aliens exchanged what appeared to be concerned glances, though it was hard to tell with their non-human expressions. Perhaps a demonstration would help, Captain Blackwood suggested. He turned to William. What did the alien say to the garden? Take me to your weeder. Olivia couldn't help it. The terrible pun combined with the tension of the moment made her snort with laughter. Captain Blackwood joined in with a hearty chuckle. The reaction from the aliens was immediate and alarming. Ambassador Zrell's crystalline form began vibrating at a high frequency, producing a piercing sound. Diplomat Hume's gaseous form condensed into a tight ball, pressing against the far side of its containment suit. Most disturbing was science observer Ticket K's response. The insectoid froze completely, its forearms stretched out in what looked like a defensive posture. The laughter died in Olivia's throat. Are you all right? We meant no offense. The aliens did not respond immediately. When Ambassador Zrell finally spoke, its translated voice sounded strained. We must consider this. Development, please remain here. Without further explanation, the three representatives stepped back through their portal, which vanished as quickly as it had appeared. The three humans stood in stunned silence, staring at the empty space where the aliens had been. What just happened? William asked, breaking the heavy silence. Captain Blackwood's brow furrowed. I think we scared them. With laughter? Olivia asked, disbelief in her voice. How is that possible? Different species, different instincts, William suggested. Maybe showing teeth is threatening in their cultures? Captain Blackwood sighed heavily. Whatever the reason, I think our first contact just went very wrong. Olivia walked to the viewing port and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was a vast civilization of alien species, a federation they had hoped to join. Now that dream seemed suddenly distant. They'll come back, she said, trying to sound confident. Once they understand it's just how humans express joy, they'll come back. But as the hours ticked by with no further communication, her confidence began to fade. The ship's communication officer reported no response to their repeated hails. 3 days later, they received a brief message. The Federation Council requires time to evaluate the unusual biological and psychological makeup of humanity. Please, stand by for further contact. The waiting had begun. None of them could have imagined that a simple laugh would change humanity's relationship with the galaxy forever. 3 months had passed since the disastrous first contact meeting. The buzz of activity in the research lab aboard Earth's orbital diplomatic station never seemed to slow. Dr. Gabriel Martinez watched the recording of the alien encounter for what must have been the 100th time. He rubbed his tired eyes and turned to his colleague. Look at this again, Laura. Right here. He pointed to the screen showing the exact moment when Captain Blackwood had told his joke. Cultural attaché. Laura Walters leaned closer. I see it. The crystalline one, Zrell, starts vibrating the instant Olivia laughs. And the gaseous one contracts, Gabriel added. Almost like a defensive posture. Like they were afraid, Laura said, her voice thoughtful. Gabriel nodded slowly. But afraid of what? Laughter. The lab door slid open with a soft hiss. Admiral. Scott Peterson entered, his face grim. As the head of Earth's diplomatic corps, he had taken personal responsibility for salvaging the situation. Any progress? He asked, glancing at the frozen image on the screen. Laura sighed. We've analyzed every second of the encounter. The Federation representatives were comfortable until Captain Blackwood made his joke. Not even until the joke, Gabriel corrected, until the laughter that followed it. Admiral Peterson frowned. Are you suggesting the sound of human laughter somehow threatened them? It's the only common factor in all our scenarios, Gabriel explained. We've run simulations with different jokes, different people laughing, even recordings of laughter. From different cultures. The AI models predict the same response from the aliens every time. We need more data, Laura said. These are just theories based on one brief encounter. The Admiral's communicator beeped. He checked it, and his expression changed. We might get that chance sooner than expected. The Federation has finally responded to our messages. They're sending a liaison officer to Jupiter Station, someone called Xantul. 2 days later, Dr. Jason Ford stood nervously in Jupiter Station's meeting room. As Earth's leading anthropologist specializing in theoretical alien cultures, he had been summoned from his university position to assist in the diplomatic efforts. Beside him stood Admiral Peterson, reviewing notes on his tablet. "Remember," the Admiral said quietly, "no jokes, no smiling widely, no laughter. We can't afford another incident." Jason nodded. "Understood." The door at the far end of the room opened. A tall reptilian being entered, walking on 2 legs with a slight side-to-side motion. Its scales gleamed with an iridescent blue-green color in the station's lights. It wore what appeared to be some kind of formal garment across its chest. "Federation Liaison Officer Xantul," announced the station's AI through hidden speakers. The reptilian being raised a clawed hand in greeting. "I am Xantul of the Draxian Confederation, a member species of the Galactic Federation. I have been assigned to facilitate communication between humans and the Federation Council." Admiral Peterson stepped forward, his face carefully neutral. "We appreciate your willingness to meet with us, Liaison Officer Xantul. I am Admiral Scott Peterson, and this is Dr. Jason Ford, one of our anthropologists." Xantul's vertical pupils contracted slightly as he studied the humans. "The Federation Council has reviewed the initial contact report extensively. I am authorized to discuss the issues that arose." Jason couldn't contain his curiosity any longer. "If I may ask directly, what about human laughter caused such distress to your representatives?" The reptilian scales darkened slightly around the neck area. "A blush, perhaps?" "This is a sensitive matter. In the interests of interspecies understanding, I will explain." Xantul sat in the specially designed chair provided for him. "Most species in the Federation evolved as prey animals," he began. "The Navori crystalline forms were hunted by sound-based predators on their homeworld. The Threll existed as atmospheric plankton before achieving sentience. The Zekthar evolved from hive insects that were preyed upon by larger creatures. And humans evolved as pursuit predators," Jason said, beginning to understand. "Precisely." Xantul's tail twitched slightly. "Human physiology contains many predatory markers. Your forward-facing eyes, your teeth, your endurance-based hunting strategies. These alone caused concern among council members. But many species must have predatory ancestry," Admiral Peterson pointed out. "Yes, but few display it as openly as humans do when they laugh." Xantul reached into a pouch and produced a small device. It projected a hologram showing human faces laughing in slow motion. "Observe," the reptilian continued. "Bared teeth, rhythmic explosive vocalizations, facial contortions. These combined elements trigger deep biological fear responses in most Federation species." Jason felt a chill run down his spine. "Our expression of joy resembles something threatening to you, more than threatening." Xantul's voice lowered. "Your laughter physiologically resembles the feeding calls of the Kazakh." "The what?" Admiral Peterson asked. "An apex predator species that once roamed much of the galaxy. They are now extinct, but many Federation species have evolutionary memories of their hunting patterns. They would make similar sounds before feeding frenzies." The room fell silent as the humans processed this information. "So when we laughed," Jason began, "the Federation representatives experienced something akin to what you might feel if you encountered a snarling lion or bear," Xantul explained. "An instinctive primal fear." Admiral Peterson leaned forward. "But this is just a cultural misunderstanding. Surely once it's explained." "I regret to inform you," Xantul interrupted, "that the Federation Council has already voted on Earth's application for membership." The Admiral's face fell. "And?" "The vote was 211 to 7 against admission at this time. Earth has been categorized as a potentially destabilizing influence on interstellar peace." Jason couldn't believe what he was hearing. "Because we laugh?" "Because your biological responses trigger mass panic in most Federation species," Xantul corrected. Several council members experienced medical emergencies just watching recordings of human laughter. Admiral Peterson stood up straight, his military bearing asserting itself. What happens now? The Federation will maintain limited diplomatic contact through intermediaries like myself, species less affected by human expressions. Limited trade may be possible, but full membership. Xantul's tail twitched again. That seems unlikely in the foreseeable future. As the reptilian liaison continued explaining the restrictions that would be placed on human expansion into Federation space, Jason's mind raced with implications. Humanity had reached for the stars, dreaming of joining a galactic community, only to be rejected because of something as fundamental as how they expressed joy. Later that evening, in his temporary quarters on the station, Jason composed a message to Earth's united government. The situation was challenging but not hopeless. If humans could learn to control their laughter in diplomatic settings, perhaps there was still a path forward. As he finished his report, a thought struck him. What if humans could somehow turn this perceived weakness into a strength? After all, throughout history, humanity had often found unexpected ways to overcome obstacles. Perhaps their terrifying laughter would yet find its place among the stars. Admiral Catherine Winters stared at the proposal on her desk. After reading it twice, she looked up at the man standing before her. Commander Peter Maxwell was known throughout the United Earth Space Navy for his stoic demeanor. In his 15 years of service, no one had ever reported seeing him laugh. Operation Straight Face, she asked, raising an eyebrow. Yes, Admiral, Peter replied, his expression unchanged. We believe it's our best chance at improving relations with the Federation. Catherine leaned back in her chair. The last 3 months had been difficult for Earth's diplomatic efforts. Trade restrictions, limited access to Federation star charts, and a general sense of isolation had left humanity frustrated. So your plan is to assemble a crew that doesn't laugh and send them as our representatives? A crew trained to suppress normal human emotional expressions during diplomatic interactions, Peter clarified. We've consulted with behavioral psychologists and developed protocols for alternative ways to express positive emotions without triggering the Federation's fear responses. Catherine drummed her fingers on her desk. It was an unusual approach, but their options were limited. And you believe you can train people to control such an instinctive response? We've already begun the training program with volunteers. The results are promising. After a long pause, Catherine nodded. Very well, Commander Maxwell. Operation Straight Face is approved. The UES Diplomacy will be assigned to your command for this mission. 6 weeks later, Peter stood in the training hall aboard the UES Diplomacy, watching his specially selected crew practice their emotional control. 20 men and women sat in a circle as behavioral specialist Amy Rodriguez led them through exercises. Remember, Amy said, when you feel the urge to laugh, redirect it. Channel the energy into a gentle hand gesture like this. She demonstrated a subtle motion with her fingers. For stronger reactions, focus on your breathing and use the neutral vocal acknowledgement we practiced. Lieutenant Olivia Nash, who had been present at the disastrous first contact, was now part of the mission. She raised her hand. I'm still struggling with spontaneous reactions. What if something completely unexpected happens? That's why we're practicing with surprise stimuli, Amy explained. Your reactions need to become automatic. Peter watched as the training continued. For hours, the crew was exposed to increasingly ridiculous scenarios and jokes, training themselves to respond with neutral expressions and controlled gestures rather than laughter. By the 4th week of training, even the funniest routine from Earth's most famous comedian couldn't crack their straight faces. Peter allowed himself a small nod of satisfaction. They were ready. The UES Diplomacy arrived at the neutral meeting point in deep space 2 days ahead of schedule. This gave the crew time for final preparations before meeting with the Federation representatives. Remember your training, Peter told them during the final briefing. No smiles that show teeth, no sounds that could be interpreted as laughter. Use the approved hand gestures and vocal acknowledgments we practiced. Lieutenant Olivia looked nervous, but determined. We won't let Earth down, Commander. When the Federation delegation arrived in their shimmering ship, Peter led the welcoming party to the diplomatic chamber. 3 representatives entered, different individuals from the first contact, but representing the same species: a Navori, a Threll, and a Zekthar. "Welcome aboard the UES Diplomacy," Peter said, his face carefully neutral. "I am Commander Peter Maxwell, representing United Earth." The Navori representative, introducing itself as Facilitator Zell, studied the humans carefully. "Your communication patterns appear different from our records. We have studied your cultural preferences and adapted our behavior accordingly," Peter explained. "We hope to establish more comfortable relations." The meeting proceeded smoothly. The humans presented their case for reconsideration of Earth's status, demonstrating technological achievements and cultural arts. Throughout the entire presentation, not a single human smiled widely or laughed. "Your species shows remarkable adaptability," noted the Threll representative. "The Council may reconsider limited cultural exchange programs." Peter allowed himself a small nod of acknowledgement, one of the approved gestures. "We would welcome such an opportunity." The first day of negotiations ended on a positive note. As the Federation representatives retired to their quarters aboard the Diplomacy, Peter gathered his officers for a quiet celebration. "Excellent work," he told them. "We've made more progress today than in the 3 months since first contact." The next morning, as agreed, Federation representatives would tour the ship to learn more about human culture and technology. Peter assigned Ensign Ryan Bailey, a young officer with an exemplary record in the training program, to guide the Zekthar scientist. As they walked through the engineering section, the Zekthar asked detailed questions about human propulsion systems. Ryan answered professionally, maintaining the neutral expression he had practiced for weeks. Then disaster struck. As Ryan turned to show the Zekthar a control panel, he didn't notice a low-hanging pipe. He walked directly into it, hitting his forehead with a loud clang. The sound echoed through the metal corridor. Several nearby crew members saw the accident. They immediately tried to suppress their natural reaction to the comical sight. Instead of open laughter, the corridor filled with an eerie silence followed by strange snorting sounds and faces contorted with the effort of holding back laughter. The Zekthar's compound eyes widened. Its mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of distress. It backed away from the humans, its 4 arms raised defensively. You are attempting to disguise your predatory signals," it chittered through its translator. "This is even more disturbing than open aggression." Before Ryan could explain, the Zekthar turned and scuttled away at surprising speed, using all 6 limbs to escape the corridor. Within minutes, alarms sounded throughout the ship. The Federation delegates had returned to their vessel, breaking off all communication. Peter arrived at the scene, his face still carefully controlled despite the crisis. "What happened, Ensign?" Ryan, rubbing his bruised forehead, explained the accident. "I tried not to laugh, sir. We all did. It seems our suppressed laughter frightened them even more than open laughter," Peter observed. Later that day, the Federation ship transmitted a final message before departing. "The Council has reviewed the incident aboard your vessel. It appears humans can not only produce the death cry of the Kazakh, but can disguise and control it for tactical purposes. This suggests a level of predatory evolution even more advanced than previously assessed. All diplomatic contact will cease immediately. Federation boundaries near your solar system will be clearly marked. Do not attempt to cross them." Peter stood on the bridge, watching the Federation ship disappear into faster-than-light travel. Operation Straightface had failed, and humanity's position was now worse than before. As the Diplomacy began its long journey back to Earth, he wondered if humans would ever find their place among the stars. Perhaps they were destined to remain isolated, feared for something as simple and natural as their laughter. 6 weeks after the failed diplomatic mission, Earth's situation had grown more difficult. Federation ships now patrolled the edges of the solar system, keeping their distance but clearly marking boundaries humans were not to cross. Trade with The few alien species willing to deal with Earth had slowed to a trickle. Captain Elizabeth Miller stood on the bridge of the UES Defender, watching the main screen with growing concern. Her ship patrolled the outer edges of human space, monitoring the Federation quarantine line. "Another one, Captain," said Communications Officer Frank Rivera. "That's the 7th Federation ship this week." Elizabeth frowned. "They're building quite the fence around us." "Can you blame them?" asked her first officer, Alan Wilson. "As far as they're concerned, we're the scary monsters who make predator noises for fun." "We're not monsters," Elizabeth said firmly. "And we'll find a way to prove it." Before Alan could respond, an urgent alert sounded across the bridge. Frank's fingers flew across his console. "Captain, we're picking up a distress signal. It's coming." From just beyond the boundary line. "Federation?" Elizabeth asked, already moving toward her command chair. "No," Frank replied. "The signal matches nothing in our database, but it's definitely a call for help. The universal distress frequency is being used." Elizabeth only hesitated for a moment. Federation warnings or not, distress calls had to be answered. It was one of humanity's oldest maritime traditions, now extended to the stars. "Plot an intercept course," she ordered. "But approach with caution. Weapons on standby, shields at maximum." The UES Defender crossed the invisible boundary that the Federation had established. Within minutes, they spotted the source of the distress. Call an enormous ship at least 3 times the size of the Defender. Its unusual design featured multiple spherical sections connected by tube-like corridors. One section was clearly damaged, venting atmosphere into space. "Life signs?" Elizabeth asked her science officer. "Several hundred," replied Science Officer Maria Diaz. "Their ship appears to be experiencing catastrophic engine failure. And, Captain, they're drifting toward the Jupiter mining outpost. If their trajectory doesn't change, they'll collide with it in less than 6 hours." Elizabeth's decision was immediate. "Hail them." After several attempts, the main screen flickered to life. A face appeared that resembled a cross between a lion and a bear, with 6 eyes arranged in a circle pattern. The aliens spoke, and their translator worked to convert the sounds. "This is Commander Zark of the Vexorian merchant vessel, Endless Bounty. Our primary drive has experienced critical failure. We cannot alter course. I am Captain Elizabeth Miller of the Earth vessel Defender. We stand ready to assist you." The alien commander's 6 eyes blinked in sequence. "Earth? You are not Federation?" "No," Elizabeth confirmed. "We are an independent species. The Federation warned all ships to avoid this sector. They said dangerous predators lived here." Commander Zark seemed to study Elizabeth carefully. "You do not appear dangerous." "We have our moments," Elizabeth said with a small smile. "But right now we're offering help. Your current trajectory will cause you to collide with one of our outposts." Commander Zark conferred with others off-screen before responding. "We accept your assistance, Earth vessel. Our engineering systems are failing. We cannot stop the collision ourselves." Elizabeth turned to her crew. "Contact Earth Command. We need additional ships and engineering teams immediately." Within 2 hours, 3 more human vessels arrived, including the UES Pioneer with its specialized engineering corps. Chief Engineer Joseph Collins led a team of 20 engineers to board the massive alien ship. Joseph had never seen technology like the Vexorian ship before. Their engine room was vast, filled with crystal arrays and pulsing energy conduits unlike human designs. "Their system is completely different from ours," he told Captain Miller through his communicator. "But the principles should be similar. We need to redirect power to their maneuvering thrusters." Commander Zark assigned several Vexorian engineers to work alongside the humans. Despite the language barrier and different approaches to technology, the 2 species worked frantically as the minutes ticked by. "The crystal matrix is overloading," explained a Vexorian named Garv. "Cannot contain energy pulse." Joseph studied the pulsing crystals. "We need to bypass the main conduit and route power through secondary systems." For 4 tense hours, humans and Vexorians worked side by side. The ship continued its drift toward the mining outpost, where 3,000 people lived and worked. 1 hour to impact, Maria reported from the Defender. "They've started evacuating the outpost, but they won't get everyone out in time." In the Vexorian engine room, Joseph wiped sweat from his brow. "One more try," he told the alien engineers. "Reroute all power through the emergency systems, then hit the maneuvering thrusters at maximum burst. It might burn them out, but it could push us off course enough to miss the outpost." As they made the final connections, an energy surge shot through the system. Sparks flew from a nearby panel, narrowly missing Joseph's head. "That was close," he muttered. One of the younger human engineers, Sam Bradley, couldn't help adding, "Yeah, a few inches to the left and you'd have had a very bad hair day, Chief." The absurdity of worrying about hair in such a dire situation, combined with the release of tension, caused several of the human engineers to snicker. Joseph let out a short laugh despite himself. "Focus, people," he said. But he was smiling too. Then he noticed the Vexorians staring at them. For a moment Joseph froze, remembering the Federation's reaction to human laughter. But instead of fear, the Vexorian engineers showed curiosity. "What is this sound you make?" asked Garv, his 6 eyes blinking rapidly. "It's called laughter," Joseph explained cautiously. "It's how humans respond to stress or when something strikes us as funny." "Funny?" Garv repeated the unfamiliar word. "Humorous. Amusing." Joseph searched for words the translator might handle better. "It's a way we release tension." Before the conversation could continue, the ship's systems came online. The maneuvering thrusters fired, pushing the massive vessel into a new trajectory. "It's working," Maria's voice came through the communicator. "You've altered course enough, you'll miss the outpost by at least 2 kilometers. Cheers erupted among the human engineers. Several couldn't contain their laughter of relief. Joseph noticed that rather than recoiling in horror, the Vexorians were watching with intense interest. Later, after the crisis had passed and the Vexorian ship was safely in a stable orbit for repairs, Commander Zark requested a meeting with Captain Miller and Chief Collins. "Your people saved many lives today," the commander said. "Both yours and ours. The Federation told us humans were dangerous predators to be avoided. Yet you risked violating their boundaries to help strangers." "It's what we do," Elizabeth said, simply. "And this..." "Laughter," Zark continued. "We observed your engineers making these sounds. The Federation claims it is a predatory behavior." Joseph shook his head. "It's how we express joy or release tension. There's nothing predatory about it." Commander Zark's 6 eyes blinked in their circular pattern. "The Vexorian Confederacy has been studying humans from afar for some time. We find your species fascinating rather than frightening." Elizabeth leaned forward. "You're not members of the Federation?" "No. We are an independent alliance of 12 species. The Federation has tried to restrict our trade and expansion for centuries." As Commander Zark continued speaking, Elizabeth and Joseph exchanged glances. Perhaps humans had just found their first real allies among the stars. 1 year had passed since the Vexorian rescue incident. Earth's diplomatic center in Geneva buzzed with activity as representatives from 27 alien species gathered for an unprecedented galactic conference. The large meeting hall had been specially designed to accommodate various environmental needs, with sections for water breathers, methane breathers, and even low-gravity zones. Dr. Samantha Powell stood at the edge of the stage, reviewing her notes one last time. As Earth's leading neuroscientist specializing in emotion, she had spent months preparing for this presentation. The entire human diplomatic corps had worked tirelessly to organize this event, which they called the Diplomatic Revolution. "Are you ready?" asked Director Paul Mason, head of the newly formed Interstellar Relations Department. Samantha nodded. "As ready as I'll ever be." Paul glanced around the room. "The Federation representatives are still keeping their distance from the human section." "That's why we're here today," Samantha replied, "to change their minds." The conference began with formal introductions of each species present. Most notable were the Vexorians, who had become Earth's strongest allies, and a small contingent of Federation representatives who had agreed to attend as observers. Among them was a single Navori, whose crystalline form shimmered nervously at the back of the room. When it was her turn to speak, Samantha walked confidently to the center of the stage. Behind her, a large screen activated. "Distinguished visitors from across the galaxy," she began, "we are gathered here to address what has become known as the laughter problem. For the past year, humans have been largely isolated from the Galactic Federation due to misunderstandings about our biological expressions." The screen displayed brain scans of human subjects. "Today, I want to share with you the true nature of human laughter." For the next 20 minutes, Samantha explained how laughter had evolved on Earth not as a predatory behavior, but as a social bonding mechanism. She showed videos of human children laughing while playing, elderly people laughing with their families, and friends laughing together after overcoming challenges. Laughter releases chemicals in our brains that reduce stress and create feelings of trust and connection, she explained. Far from being aggressive, it is one of our most peaceful expressions. She displayed data showing how human health improved with regular laughter, and how laughter played a crucial role in conflict resolution and community building throughout human history. "We understand that the sound of our laughter triggers fear responses in many Federation species," Samantha acknowledged. "We cannot change our biology, nor would we ask you to change yours, but perhaps we can find a middle ground." She turned to the audience. "I would like to invite representatives from each species present to share how you express joy, pleasure, or humor in your own cultures." At first, there was hesitation. Then a Vexorian stood, its 6 eyes blinking in their circular pattern. "Vexorians express joy through eye-blinking sequences and vibrations in our chest cavities," the representative explained, demonstrating a rapid series of blinks that moved clockwise around its face. Others followed. The Threll representative explained that they expressed pleasure through color changes in their gaseous forms. A reptilian species described a complex tail-tapping language of happiness. Each demonstration was recorded and displayed on the main screen. Slowly, a remarkable catalog of alien expressions emerged. Some used light patterns, others used chemical releases, and still others used complex movements or sounds. "Look at this. Diversity," Samantha said, gesturing to the compiled data. "Each species has found its own way to express positive emotions. Each of these expressions might seem strange or even threatening to others without proper understanding." She moved to the center of the stage. "We propose the establishment of an interspecies cultural exchange program. Through this program, species can learn about each other's biological expressions in safe, controlled environments. Over time, fear responses can be reduced through understanding and exposure." From the back of the room, the Navori representatives' crystalline form shifted colors, indicating a desire to speak. All eyes turned as the Federation observer moved forward. "I am Counselor Ethrani," the Navori's translated voice announced. "I have observed these proceedings with great interest. While many in the Federation remain wary of human expressions, what you propose raises an important question." The crystalline being moved closer to the stage. "What if our fear of human laughter represents not a reason for exclusion, but an opportunity for growth? By learning to overcome instinctive biological reactions to differences, might the Federation evolve to a higher level of cooperation?" A murmur ran through the assembly at these words. Samantha could hardly believe what she was hearing from a Federation representative. "Would you explain further, Counselor?" she asked. "For 10,000 years, the Federation has brought together species with compatible biology and psychology," Ethrani explained. "This has created stability but also stagnation. Perhaps the challenge humans present is precisely what we need." The counselor turned to address the entire assembly. "I propose that the Federation send observers to participate in this cultural exchange program. While full membership for Earth remains a distant possibility, we should not close the door on meaningful dialogue." The hall erupted in a mix of alien sounds, some expressing approval, others concern. The Vexorian delegation immediately voiced strong support for the proposal. 3 hours of intense discussion followed. By the end of the day, an agreement had been reached. While Earth would remain outside the Federation for now, a pathway had been established. The cultural exchange program would begin with carefully managed interactions between humans and various alien species. 2 months later, Captain Nicole Harper stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned UES Understanding. As the first human vessel authorized for extended journeys into Federation space, it carried a unique crew, scientists and diplomats from Earth, alongside representatives from 12 alien species who had volunteered to study human culture firsthand. "Course set for the Navori homeworld," reported her navigator. Nicole nodded. "Proceed at half speed, let's not rush our first impression." As the ship prepared to leave orbit, Nicole walked through the ship's common area where her diverse crew gathered. In one corner, a human linguist was attempting to learn the Threll's color-based emotional language. Nearby, a Vexorian scientist observed as 2 human crew members shared jokes, carefully studying their laughter. Most promising of all was a small group where a human diplomat was teaching an insectoid Zikthar the concept of humor through simple wordplay, while the Zikthar demonstrated its species' version of pleasure through a complex antenna dance. The exchanges were awkward, sometimes confusing, but genuine. It was a beginning. Nicole smiled to herself as she returned to the bridge. Humanity's path to acceptance among the stars would be long and challenging. Their laughter, once a barrier, might yet become a bridge. After all, throughout human history, it was often the very things that made people different that ultimately brought them together. Perhaps the same would be true among the stars.